Hey moms, I want to talk about energy and my 6 tips on how to gain energy naturally throughout the day. Now, one tip that I have is to exercise. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but exercise actually helps to give us energy throughout the day. Not only does it help regulate our cortisol response, but it also helps us to increase our feel-good hormones, serotonin and dopamine, which helps to give us more energy throughout the day. Exercise also increases the mitochondria in our body. Mitochondria are these powerhouse organelles that help to give us energy throughout our day. And the more we exercise, the more mitochondria that we actually have throughout the day. Every morning, I like to do an exercise routine. I either do an upper body or a lower body strength workout, or I go on the treadmill and I jog or I run. I like to make sure that I exercise in the morning time, because when I exercise at night, it increases your cortisol, which you don't want to do, because increased cortisol causes insomnia, which leads to further fatigue. So exercising throughout the day rather in the morning at some point before the afternoon hits is a better time in the day to exercise. It also helps personally to exercise before my children are awake, because if I wait for them to wake up, it's much harder for me to exercise. And I really enjoy that time for self-care for me, so that I can feel good for my day and I can feel like I started my day with intention and did it for me first, and then I can take care of my children next. Another tip is to make sure to add protein, carbs, and fat to your meals, as this helps to curb blood sugar crashes, which leads to irritability and also low energy as well. So having a protein source, a carb source, and a fat source in every single meal really helps, as well as adding a protein or a fat to your snacks. Another example would be to add almond butter with your apple. Almond butter has a protein and a fat in it, so I really love to have that as a snack option.
Aim to drink at least 8 cups of water a day, as it helps to flush out toxins and with energy.
I highly recommend adding a supplement in times of high stress. When I am feeling really high stress, I try to add things that help soothe my adrenals and my nervous system. So one thing that I like to really add is a magnesium supplement. Magnesium really helps to soothe that nervous system. And to add calcium with that, you can get calcium and magnesium together. Another one would be B complex. Now, our B vitamins are depleted by our adrenals in times of high stress, as it's used for energy. So in order to get our B vitamins back, a B complex can help in those times of high stress to give us more energy throughout the day. Another supplement would be vitamin C, as when times of high stress happen, our cortisol is spiked, and that causes an immune response, which lowers our immune system. Energy is so important to keep our days going, to keep our children going, to keep our household clean, everything to be organized. So I want to talk about the correlation between energy and different things that impact our energy throughout the day, such as cortisol. Cortisol is needed for regulating the body's metabolism of protein, glucose, and fatty acids. Cortisol is also needed for so many functions in the body. It helps with our immune systems. It helps with our fight or flight response when it's needed in the body. It actually helps with our energy as well. But when we are using too much cortisol in the body, it can actually work against us. So I like to look at cortisol as this good thing, but as soon as we fill the cup too full of cortisol, then it starts to have detrimental effects on us, such as low energy, irritability, mood swings, weight gain, and so many other things. So in order to control our cortisol, we really want to make sure we do different techniques that really help us to feel better in our day and to reduce that amount of cortisol to a healthy level. Now, a normal amount of cortisol is needed for restoration of energy stores following stress. Now, when we're feeling stressed throughout the day, cortisol is not able to do its proper job, and the cortisol just raises and raises and raises until at that point we no longer can function properly, but instead we impair our body's natural abilities to fight inflammation, to have our immune response properly regulated, and instead we actually develop chronic illness and chronic fatigue from elevated levels of cortisol for too long. Another thing that really helps with making sure that you don't crash in the afternoon and have low energy is making sure you don't have more than 2 cups of coffee a day. So coffee can be a good thing and help give us energy, but it can also crash our adrenals. Another tip is to simplify. So I try to simplify my household from clutter, from feeling that constant chaotic feeling when everything is cluttered on the countertops, when the playroom or the living room is filled with toys. It feels super chaotic and it causes a lot more stress as your mind is constantly focused on those different things. So one way to manage that is to do certain things that help you simplify your home. As far as the toys go, I know it's hard. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old boy that love to throw things all over the house. So what I've done is I've actually reduced the amount of toys that they have so that there's not as many toys to go around the whole house. And they actually feel more content with that because they don't have a cluttered mind as well. So I have a couple different bins in the closet that have their other toys in them, and I just swap them out between every 1 to 2 weeks, and then they're happy and excited to feel like they have new toys again. Our adrenals are what produce cortisol in the body, which can be a good thing if the cortisol is helping us, but with having too much cortisol, it can actually cause us to crash instead and to have adrenal fatigue. So adrenal fatigue happens when our cortisol is spiked for too long and our body is feeling too tired. One other thing that I really like to do every morning is to write a few intentions in my journal. So I have a daily planner where I write down what little things I want to accomplish in the day. It can be as simple as teaching my son how to walk, or going to the grocery store, or checking the mail, or now creating a blog post. But essentially it's giving me an intention for the day so that at some point in the day I can check it off and I know that I completed it, and it just feels like my day is a little bit more intentional and a little bit less chaotic and stressful, and like my children run the day. And my last tip would be to take time for fun and relaxation. I know it can seem super hard in the thick of motherhood to have time for us, to have time for self-care. But when you do that, everything seems a lot more relaxed, everything seems a lot more maintainable, and we're reducing that cortisol to a level that's manageable, that's good for our bodies, rather than detrimental. So examples could be having a nice bubble bath for yourself when the kids go to bed, or when they take a nap, having time to read or journal, having time to have a date with your husband or your boyfriend or whoever your partner is, and getting them watched by a babysitter or a family member. But overall, doing things that we find relaxing and fun are really, really good for our nervous systems and our adrenals, and to help before we get into that burnout stage where we start to feel tired all the time and we start to feel like we need more coffee and we're just not able to handle the demands of motherhood. I hope those tips helped you in how to gain more energy throughout the day. I know it can be really hard to keep up sometimes with the demands of motherhood, but I know that adding these healthy tips really help to give you more energy throughout the day naturally, and to set the intention right for each and every day.